Hi everyone, Nate here. Just wanted to give you a quick heads up. If you're a fan of the show and want to hear more episodes, we publish bonus content every Monday on Patreon. For $5 a month, you'll get access to all of them, as well as an invite to our Discord server. Go to patreon.com/hellofaWayToDie. Thanks, and enjoy the show.
Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. He ain't gonna jump no more.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of What a Hell of a Way to Die. It is me and it is Nate. Nate, how are things? How's May doing? How's England coming off that lockdown and Brexit coming back to bite them in the ass again?
I mean, on one hand, we know we're doing stupid, mandatory, fun, patriotic shows of fealty to the NHS while they're literally trying to pass a bill to make it almost impossible for people to come to this country. You know, and the NHS's workforce is significantly made up of immigrants from Eastern Europe as well as from non-EU countries. And of course, it doesn't matter. It's just... This country is run by a bunch of syphilitic, inbred, insane, just like utterly like milk-fed walking abortions, as I've said numerous times before. And I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be bad because like every dumb Wojak meme about like, you know, guy in rainy, sodden fucking concrete block apartment, just like spending all his time, you know, getting surveyed by CCTV and then posting racist shit online. That is 100% Britain. That being said, it's been really sunny and nice lately. So when Britain is nice, when the weather is nice, it kind of feels incongruous in a way because the national character is so obviously one of just like glum people getting rained on that when you have this sun, you're like, wait, what the fuck? And it's incredible. It's incredible here when the weather is nice. Like it's unbelievably nice. Like you'll go riding my bike, you know, and even when it's hot, like unless it's like the absolute hottest day of the year, you know, when it's say above 95 Fahrenheit, even when it's hot in the sun, you get in the shade and it's nice. You go for a bike ride, it's nice. Like it doesn't have that same oppressive humidity that you have so many other places, particularly in the United States, but even in like continental Europe. And so it is unbelievably pleasant here in the summertime. It's just that 9-ish months out of the year, it's rainy and windy and cold. And everyone here is basically like, I don't know, if Charlie Brown was racist.
A bunch of bald-headed weirdos that are just constantly depressed.
Constantly depressed and trying to kick the same football and having it pulled out from under them. And then they're racist.
Well, I recently discovered that 41 seasons of This Old House are soon to be available online. So that's me. That's like, if you were going to play a video game to be a dad, that's what grinding would be to watch. Just like, watch a season of This Old House and you will go up 10 dad points. You'll
yeah, my parents loved that shit when it used to be aired on whatever network in Washington when they lived in Washington State. That's actually where I was born, and like they used to watch that shit all the time because I think that the house that they lived in when I was born was the first house that they actually owned outright or that they had a mortgage on. I think they had rented up until that point. And so they were all like, hell yeah, we're going to, of course, it turns out that house had like a fucking methane leak in the basement, but they used to be like, hell yeah, we're going to, you know, super arts and craftsmen do this house stuff ourselves. Obviously they had zero experience in that regard, but they had This Old House. They just watched that nonstop.
Yeah, my wife and I have come up with, like, because we were talking about the house that we have right now doesn't really have a porch to hang out on, and we like to sit on the front, the front area. So we were talking about building a porch, and now we've settled on just building like a paving stone patio, and then there's the backyard. What are we going to do with all that? And like the one place that is still open and has been open this whole time is Lowe's. So that's like all anybody is doing around here is doing, you know, the home improvement shit that they've been putting off. And now they're like, well, I guess I have nothing better to do. Though you and I were stirring shit up on Twitter the other day. So with the Code for Vets people.
Oh God, yeah, QAnon veteran people are such a. I'm used to your garden variety, glowing eyes, secret squirrel special operator, supposedly guy who probably hasn't ever deployed to combat kind of people online, like the "you fucking pogue, you can't tactically engage," like that kind of thing. I'm used to that strain of vet bro. And so it was really amazing to me getting wrapped up in the mentions with Code of Vets is the QAnon veteran kinds of people, most of whom aren't veterans. They're just really, really into supporting the troops, and the fact that like somewhere in their family lineage was someone who was in the military, probably because they were drafted out of high school or some shit. And it's really amazing because the best way I could describe it is picking a fight with those people or having them pick a fight with you is like having someone from like the really wholesome Heathcliff and Garfield Facebook page try to do a forum invasion. Like they're just so incredible. Like it's like imagine a bunch of really aggressive slugs. Like they have no idea how little defense they have, and they take everything at face value, and you can make them furious. Like that was the first rare frisson of just real shit stirring that I'd had in a while, because obviously at this point, I mean, it's just, you wind up kind of saying the same things, and a lot of times it's not worth engaging. Like how much bitter acrimony and being told to kill myself by glowing eyes virgins do I really want? So, I don't really engage, but this, when you told me, so for the listeners, Francis messaged me and said, "Oh man, it's funny. I was the one who was giving them shit, but you're the one getting all the replies." And I realized it's because I just had jumped in and said, with it for Code of Vets, I just called them Code of Twats and emphasized the British pronunciation. And because my Facebook profile, or correction, because my Twitter profile says that I'm in the United Kingdom, like 30 of these QAnon, beard, sunglasses, baseball cap, photo from car accounts jumped in and were just like, basically, "Fuck you, you English prick. How are your grooming gangs, you fucking limey. Yeah, if it wasn't for us, you'd be speaking German." And it's just like, I'm American. I was in the U.S. Army. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so, it was just matter. Oh man, it's so good.
They hit your profile and see England and read literally nothing else, and then that just becomes a jumping off point.
Your teeth fixed, you fucking limey. It's like, well, yeah, it's actually easier and cheaper to get my teeth fixed here than it is in America. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, the entirety of their knowledge of the United Kingdom comes from Simpsons reruns. They have no other basis of. And the same thing, my favorite one. So you got quote tweeted by the Code for Vets people, and Code for Vets
just did like a weird soy face photo of herself to basically be like, "I respect all veterans. I don't care if you're British." And it's like,
and then
really aggressively wholesome, like, yeah.
And then blocked you. Yeah.
Well, no, she blocked me because I said that actually I run a dog sanctuary for old military working dogs, but I only get them in my possession so I can have my Great Pyrenees bully them for being pogues. And that, of course, like, how dare you disrespect the dogs who are also troops? That made them so furious that they had to get rid of me.
Yeah, that was that was because, like you said, they don't really have a leg to stand on, and 9 times out of 10 they've never served in the military themselves.
Yeah, they're not veterans, and so really they're always like aggressively defending this sanctified impression of veterans that they've constructed online, that the veterans are always both heroic and brave and Marine Todd, but also constantly being victimized by the libs. And so, in a way, like they've never really had to confront the idea that veterans might disagree with them, because most of the veterans who, in my opinion, who would be willing to interact with and be buddy-buddy with that kind of weird coterie of freaks are such, like, they're cut from the same cloth. They're just the same weird slime people who, like, everything is about the troops, and anything you do to make society better is a waste of resources and morally wrong because it's not helping the troops, even if the people you're helping are also troops, because everything's got to be, it's like, it's basically the human version of that stupid Black Rifle Coffee meme about, Starbucks is hiring ISIS, but we're going to hire 50,000 veterans somehow. We're a company of 20 people. You know what I mean? Like, it's that mentality sort of allowed to run riot, but they never have encountered veterans who disagree with them, and so they just don't know how to react. And I don't necessarily always want to do Twitter recaps, but I do think that it is kind of indicative of a mindset of troop worship idolatry, if you will. That, like, not only are they troop worshiping to a degree that's genuinely worrying, but none of it is based on any real representation of the truth. It's not based on anything real at all. It's based on, sepia-toned photos of their great-grandpappy serving in World War I, plus, I don't know, they watch Band of Brothers in the Pacific. And that's it.
Yep. And then when you tell them that the veterans don't care, it's I know a couple of veterans who care. Like, do you? Or do you talk to any veteran in your family with anything other than like reverence and deference? Like, I can't get over the fact sometimes with these people that like, I just be like, look, a large portion of troops are assholes. Like, I'm a veteran and I'm being a huge asshole to you. How is this not connecting inside of your brain that maybe some troops are assholes and that maybe you shouldn't be doing this? But invariably, you go to these the bio, and there's a where we go one where we go all hashtag, or there's a MAGA hashtag, and it's just always it's a bunch of fat dudes with beards and sunglasses taking pictures of themselves in their cars because their ex-wife won't let them in past the garage, and they have really nothing else going for them, so they just have to yell at people online. And like, I know that's really hypocritical because like Nate and I do a lot of yelling at people online, but also like I have no problem like just muting people and moving on, which is I think one of the biggest superpowers you can have on Twitter is to be like, I'm tired of this argument, and then just walk away from it without ever like.
Well, yeah,
about
I mean,
it
like
again.
if it's one of those things where you have to at least be honest with yourself and say, okay, I know that what I'm doing is equally ridiculous, and I'm playing to my crowd just like these people are playing to their crowd, but it's also, it can be entertaining. It's very funny when these people try to puff out their chests, and it's always like, well, my grandfather served in World War II. It's like, so did like 650,000 other people from your home state, man. Like, millions of Americans served in fucking World War II. Like, who cares? Like, World War II was 80 years ago. Like, do you
get over it?
Get some new material, like
get a new troop. God damn it!
And so, like, it's entertaining, but we know it's ridiculous. And I wouldn't fault like serious journalism people or whomever else who might have followed me when I used to write, for the New York Times or whatever, unfollowing me or muting me, because obviously a lot of what we do now is kind of clown shit. Yes, I get that. It's also a coping mechanism. It's also fun. It's also kind of like a way of meeting like-minded people, in the sense that other veterans who might have felt completely at odds with just the mind-boggling stupidity of what passes for standard professional veteraning discourse, seeing other people being lighthearted about it, but also pushing back on this idea that, that we've somehow seen the unknowable and, visited the great beyond, and everything in American society, or societies around the world, should be centered around giving us free meals at Applebee's forever. It's such a strange mentality. And I think that having the opportunity, for me at least, meeting you, for example, because I remember encountering your posts like long before we started the show. I think I DM'd you out of nowhere, and I was just like, because you had mentioned the story that you had heard secondhand about during the withdrawal from Iraq in 2011, the folks just being like, oh, well, we have like, dozens and dozens of expensive cameras and photo equipment, but we can't pallet them up and put them on in containers. Let's just set them all on fire. Like, encountering people who also looked at that story and say, wow, this is so completely fucking insane, and also I'm 100% sure it's true, like, that can feel, I don't know, liberating in a way. And so that's, I mean, maybe the reason I do it. Maybe the other reason is just I enjoy being a prick. I enjoy being like, hopefully less mean these days and more funny, but you know what I mean.
Well,
and
I think I do feel like a lot of what you and I do isn't necessarily mean, because you and I didn't go at, so Code for Vets posted something about like, I don't know, it was posting the Bill of Rights and something, I don't know if it was about quarantine or, I can't, of course it was yesterday, and I have the fucking memory of a goldfish these days because of Twitter, but, I didn't even post anything like attacking veterans or anything, other than being like, it's stupid to argue that the Constitution gives you the right to be like, I'm going to break quarantine. That's fucking dumb. And you're dumb if you think that. And then it just kind of snowballed. Like, it turns from something like, this is a dumb idea, and then people start attacking me, and then you replied, and to be fair, you were a little bit more antagonistic, but I don't know, just like we never really started. You know, it's like we put down the sticks and we put the logs on top of it, and then we douse the whole thing in gasoline, and then we stand there with a lighter in our hand, and we flick the lighter, and we just stand there with it, and then we just wait for something. We just, just say something innocuous, like the Bill of Rights should be yeeted into the sun, and all that's going to happen is somebody's going to come and like slap the lighter out of our hand, saying, "How dare you?" So I'm not going to say that we're the catalyst, but we certainly do kind of set things up a little bit. And I mean, it's Twitter; it's not real life. I enjoy having fun on Twitter. Most of the time, I'm just shit posting or having a good time with my friends. But yeah, you know what? Sometimes it's good to be the people who push back against, like the Black Rifle Coffee or the Zero Blog 30 or all these like not even like full on chud kind of but like very obviously right wing, obviously deference to the troops, obviously the people that have something. I don't know. There's just something that like it's like a Jake Tapper thing, I mean, even Jake Tapper, who's a liberal and who's not like that offensive, like beyond.
I mean, he's like liberal except in as far as anything related to Palestinian rights is concerned,
right.
And then all of a sudden he's Henry fucking Kissinger. But I mean,
he does have some shitty views, but also at the same time, when Jake Tapper posts something about like, oh, how great the troops are, it's like. Your options are either you have 95% of people being like, yes, we love the troops, God bless you, Jake Tapper, and God bless the troops, and then you have this 5% of like the troops should all die and throw themselves off of bridges. And I like to think that we're a happy medium where we just tell Jake Tapper to go fuck himself, and that's the area that we're in and expanding out into is the not necessarily the tanky troops need to go kill themselves, but also the troops can kind of go fuck themselves in times, and that's okay. We can say that. We have the First Amendment, God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's why we post the Bill of Rights. I guess, to me at least, there's also a point to be made that absolutely I respect people that are doing, efforts at serious education and activism. I don't want to downplay any of the importance of that. And I don't even want to say that what we do is comparable to that, because it's not. I mean, we frankly, we put in the work to make this like a talk radio show, but we're not doing the kind of research or the kind of activism required to really kind of bring people into a movement. I mean, other than signal boosting where we can. So, I mean, I would never in a million years want to compare myself to the people who do left veteran activism that I respect. I tried my hand at a little bit of it a few years ago. I ran out of time for it. It's really exhausting. It's really thankless. It's really expensive, and you make no money, and it's hard. And I stopped doing it. So, but I would say that for me at least, what makes it fun to engage online and push back is that the goal isn't even to change people's minds. It's to give other people who might feel the same way the knowledge or the recognition that they're not alone, and also just to make people laugh, because the level of absurdity, the level of weird lack of self-awareness that these people start to churn up in defense of this sanctified icon of veterans they don't even understand, they don't even have any personal relationship to. It gets so bizarre. And for example, one of the people who got really mad at me for making fun of Code of Vets responded, "Hey, I come from a capital F family of 12 capital D devil capital D dogs, Teufelhunden, which you'd be speaking if not for us. How dare you call them, their surviving brothers, sisters, and deceased vets, treats? You are a coward." Well, first of all, sir, I called them twats, not treats. Secondly, why would I be speaking Teufelhunden unless you mean German? But I'm American, so maybe I would be speaking German if my mom hadn't left Britain if the Germans had won. But I don't know. I speak German already. I lived in Germany when I was a kid. What the fuck's wrong with
German.
you? Yeah. Whoops.
Especially Americans in, well, that would be yelling at you. QAnon Americans just view anybody that speaks two languages, I think, as a traitor. Like, how dare you learn a second language beyond the greatest language ever created, American? So
Which is also, I want to give you another example. A guy responded to me saying, "You're a real fucking douchebag. Disrespecting American veterans and their families make you a capital, all caps, ass, space, hole. But I see you don't live in the greatest country on the planet, which explains why you're such a fucking coward." His display name is Scottish flag, Tommy Mac, American flag. And I'm like, oh, wow. Oh my God. Because my ancestors came from Scotland, you dumbass. And then another reply, and you're still a fucking coward. And then, fucking pussy, just like all Brits. You're just like the French, nothing but weak ass pussies. I bet you love all those Muslim scum infiltrating your country, don't you? This guy is furious. This is incredible. God, I just seen this now.
He's so like, and again, it's a guy taking a picture in his car. I don't get it. I don't understand. I want to study these people like as an anthropologist to understand like what has made them this way, what creates what are the factors leading up to creating this kind of person, but also the disconnect to be like Scottish proud and to also be insulting to somebody who's in England. Like, what the if you love America so much, why is the Scotland?
Why are you so into where your ancestors are from?
And why is that first? Why is the Scottish flag first? Like, and all these people, like, look, I'm Irish American, and when I say Irish American, I mean my family came over during the famine. And that's like half of my family came over during the famine in the 1800s. I would not in any way like put an Irish fucking flag in my Twitter and be like, oh, I'm Irish. I'm not. I'm fucking American. I don't speak Gaelic. I've never been to Ireland. I don't know shit about Ireland other than like what I read in travel brochures and what I have experienced at Disney World. So I would never, try to front like that. However, this guy, I guarantee you, if you pressed him hard enough, he would tell you about how he's like a direct descendant of William Wallace or some dumb shit like that.
Fucking
you
shit
gotta
like
respect.
that.
He respects the veterans because he respects William Wallace.
But the thing that's crazy is that like my mom's from England. She was born in England. Her mother's English. Like she moved to America when she was 7. I wouldn't even go. I mean, I'm a British citizen, and obviously, like the difference between being English and being British is really kind of hard to define in the sense that the kind of people who are really into specifying that they are English tend to also be people who go to Nazi meetings. So it's a very strange field, and I would never claim to be like speaking authoritatively about, let's say, the British experience or certainly the English experience, or even really claim that much lineage with that regard, because even though I'm British enough to get a fucking British passport, like I'm not from here. And every day that I live in this country, it reminds me that I'm not from here. There's shit I don't understand. It's completely foreign to me. Yes, we speak the same language, but I don't know. They use very, very weird words like stonking. I'd never heard that fucking word. I thought stonks was the stupid meme. No, man. Like, I'm not from here. And so it's such a weird phenomenon. And I do think that you're right, Francis, that there's this Venn diagram overlap of the kind of people who are really into America First QAnon stuff, as well as the kind of people who are really, really into the fact that, like you said, that their ancestors are, they think are related to William Wallace or Robert the Bruce or, King James or something, when in fact, they're probably descended from someone named like Robert Piss, who was really famous for not being able to hold it in when he was doing drinking competitions in the Scottish Highlands. Like, right, your family, you're related to like Bob Fuck, the potato farmer who failed at his job and had to move to America. Like, you're not shit. None of us are. Neither am I. I'm descended from a bunch of people who are famous for 2 things: terrible weather and anti-Semitism, which makes the fact that my mom's grandfather was Jewish even more complicated.
Yeah, you should, if you're not currently rich off of old money, you should just assume that you're descendant from some sort of, pig fucking dirt farmer, which is fine because we all are. Like, that's perfectly fine. It's there's nothing to be ashamed of. But at the same time, stop stealing historical valor and thinking that you would have like, well, see, I could go back and trace my lineage to the Knights of the Round Table or something. And the thing is that like once you like really start hitting, because my dad does genealogy, and once you start hitting a certain point of England, like English history, it really starts to get broken up, and I'm gonna tell you something. 99% of them were a bunch of pig fucking dirt farmers, and that's okay. It's okay, Nate. That's who we are. That's who they are, and we're just a bunch of dirt farmers yelling at each other online.
But you know what, Francis? Honestly, talking this much about being online, I feel like there's an additional bit of information we really want to discuss, specifically related to the military and being online. And in that regard, I want to just read from an article that originally appeared on Business Insider that we found on Task and Purpose. I say we, claiming all the work that you did, Francis, because you're the only one who did the research.
Yes.
However,
last night, as I watched Star Trek and Googled military news, as I do every Sunday before we record a podcast, and I go, yeah, okay, that sounds cool.
The headline: a Gmail scammer tried to impersonate a 4-star U.S. Army general to catfish a married woman. Now, editor's note here: this is funny. But it gets funnier when you start seeing the ways in which they've had to explain basic things about the military to the general public so that they don't fall for similar catfishing attempts. So I'm going to read this. Gmail users posing as U.S. Army General Paul Nakasone, Chief of U.S. Cyber Command, sent flirty messages to women and attempted to induce them to install Google Hangouts, according to Cyberscoop report on Friday. Catfishing attempts from people posing as U.S. military service members are not unheard of, but it is still unusual for someone to boldly impersonate a 4-star general still in the military. According to Cyberscoop, the correspondence began after a New York City-based woman named Susan received Facebook messages from someone pretending to be U.S. Transportation Command Chief, U.S. Army General Steve Lyons. The account belonging to the purported Lyons commented on Susan's public Facebook post, and she later messaged him a request for him and his soldiers to contact elderly residents at a healthcare facility where she worked, Cyberscoop reported. The Facebook account pretending to be Lyons included several photos of the actual general. Susan and the fake Lyons sent messages between each other, but his account suddenly tried to coax her to send an email to Nakasone, who, quote, was a widow and needed some company, unquote, Susan reportedly recalled. The actual Nakasone is married with children, a family that he affectionately calls Team Nakasone.
The fact that they added that in, I really wonder, like, what research was done to find the Team Nakasone thing. Like, just being a journalist and finding this, and that, I don't know, the addition of that paragraph of Team Nakasone is just...
Susan gave the fake Lyons her email, and she later received another Gmail email from a fake Nakasone. The fake Nakasone reportedly claimed he was deployed to Syria and was on patrols and doing, quote, some paperwork. The former task being highly unusual for the real Nakasone's pay grade. Yes, a 4-star general in 2009 is probably not going on patrols, just saying. The fake account also sent religious messages and requests for her to download Google Hangouts, which was met with questions from Susan. The purported general claimed he wanted to use the chat application because rebels, quote, quote, rebels and the Taliban were trying to, quote, dent my image. Susan, who informed Cyberscoop of the incident, pressed the fake account for proof of identity, even posing a technical question about the legalities of warfare. The fake account replied by copy and pasting its response from a study by the Harvard National Security Journal published in 2011. When Cyberscoop and Susan confronted the account, they received an unlikely response. Quote, I am sending my troops to get you. I will also make a contact for the FBI to get you. Facebook has since removed the fake Lyons account after being informed by Cyberscoop. The U.S. military regularly warns service members of romantic scams, particularly when troops are deployed overseas during Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. The U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command, the service's law enforcement body, says there are numerous red flags, which include, and these are bullet points, a general officer will not be a member of an internet dating site. Well, you don't actually know that, but I mean, they're not going to publicly say it. Soldiers are not charged money or taxes to secure communications or leave. Yes, that is true. That we don't make them pay to go on leave. Soldiers do not need permission to get married. I mean, not officially, but your chain of command will definitely put you through the ringer if you're like an 18-year-old private trying to marry a stripper that you met last week, right before deployment. But correct. Deployed soldiers do not find large sums of money and do not need your help to get that money out of the country. That is not true. They are all Green Berets, however, and they're really good at trying to smuggle it out themselves. All right, they will definitely not need your help.
Did this guy like watch Three Kings and just describe that plot to this woman as like a way to catfish? Like, we have to get these Iraqi gold bars or these Syrian gold bars out of here, and we need your help. We need access to your account to just get all this shit out of the country.
But here's the thing that makes me laugh, though, right? Is that here's this story saying, okay, we've gotten through all these paragraphs about this fake thing was happening, a fake general, another fake general, weird threats, dumb shit that didn't add up. The U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command giving all of its details of things so people should watch out for catfishing scams. And then the closing paragraph. In October 2019, 2 U.S. Army reservists were arrested after they were accused of attempting to receive $3 million from an operation that included romantic scams aimed at elderly women, according to the Army Times. In the federal complaint, a 67-year-old widow from North Carolina was said to have been contacted by a man who claimed to be an engineer unable to access his bank account in the Philippines. The woman sent $75,000 to the man who claimed he would pay her back with interest. So basically what you're saying is catfishing from the military isn't real. It's fake. Except when it's real and when it's done by reservists who are doing the exact same thing, just aren't dumb enough to pretend to be 4-star generals on dating sites.
Well, at least the Army reservists have, like, if you ask me a law of war question, I've done the online training for law of war. I won't just copy and paste something. You know, I can give you some half-assed answers.
But that's also the most Army thing you could do is be like, oh, yes, I have the answer. Here's this thing I cut and paste with zero context that I haven't read at all.
Yeah, I mean, that is also, like, when I take the Law of War online trainings, I'm generally Googling the answers constantly. Hot tip for any of you Army reservists out there or troops that have to do online training, Quizlet generally has, like, everything on it already on it. So it's you don't even have to listen. I fucking play phone games while these things go on. Your tax dollars at work. I do like that these bullet points all address things that were not brought up in the story. Like, not charge money or taxes to secure communications or leave. Like, did this general was just like, I'd love to take leave, but I just don't have the 10 grand in cash on me right now.
I think that's a catfishing scam, though, that people will reach out and say, hello, madam, in really broken English. I am, Sergeant X. I'm serving America bravely in Afghanistan. However, I don't have enough money to go on vacation to see my family. Would you be willing to help me, kind of thing. And the kind of people like my grandma's old neighbor who, and I'm not joking, sent my unit a care package of nothing but crocheted booties, like little sock things that you wear in the house. She sent like 100 pairs of them.
Did you wear them?
I mean, I tried to, but like there was almost nowhere I could fucking wear them inside my tiny little room. Like they didn't have tough soles or anything, so I couldn't like wear them on the fucking gravel outside. And I certainly wasn't going to wear them in my office. And then when I asked whether it would be okay if we donated them to Afghans, she basically gave me this like weird legalese response about, no, actually the funding is only for Americans. We can't, we don't have, the grant that we use to make these booties to send to soldiers doesn't qualify for non-US personnel. I was just like, all right, ma'am, I will have my soldiers put them on and take some photos, and then I am giving these fucking things away. So the same kind of person who would go that route would probably be willing to fork over money to someone purporting themselves to be a soldier who, can't afford to go on leave, even though for civilian listeners, when you're deployed and you're given leave, your travel is 100% paid for. So you don't even buy the tickets yourself. You don't have anything to do with that. When you put in for a leave and they approve your leave request, you give them the leave address of where you're planning to go. And if you're deployed, you can go basically anywhere that's not on a blacklist. If it's outside of the US, you just need to have a passport on you. But for me, for example, I went to stay with my friend in New York, and I gave them his address in New York City. And they basically put it in the system, and they booked me tickets. And effectively, you fly military space available to like Kuwait, and then in Kuwait you wait your turn in an office, and they process your leave form, and they book you on a flight. And it's typically, they put you on a big group flight to Dallas or to Atlanta. And then from there, you just get on a regular flight, and you can, that flight's paid for as well. And you get your return ticket 2 weeks later or whatever. And then in Atlanta, you stand at like the USO line or whatever, and or I can't remember what it was, and they put you back on another charter flight back to Kuwait and then back to theater. So not only do you not have to buy your own tickets, but you couldn't even buy them if you wanted to. It's all done through space available, or like military personnel flights, and then them booking it through like Defense Travel Agency for you. You look at the screen to say, yes, Roger, that looks correct, and then they print it out for you. Like, you don't touch any of it. So, but you can imagine, like I said, the kind of person who would knit 100 pairs of booties with the expectation that that's going to, be a thing that soldiers in Afghanistan need, would probably also think, oh, wow, I guess, the damn libs aren't taking care of our troops. They have to pay for their own vacation. And that's how they wind up getting scammed. Similarly, finding money.
Booties.
Oh, damn, I know. Well, that's the thing, right? I feel like such a dumbass even saying that word out loud. But yes, I had this weird complication of a very, very well-intentioned geriatric sending me like a pallet worth of fucking crocheted booties when I was in a war zone.
Dude, we could do like an entire episode about the weird shit that is sent to people overseas, like while on, just in care packages. Just like so much, I know, books, man. Just like so many romance novels.
The self-published books.
Oh God,
people sending their own self-published books to the troops. My God, they're so weird, and you get so many of them. I remember getting a book that was like somebody's self-published novel about like a murder mystery at like an Old West mine, and the mine was called Tubal Cain, so it was a Tubal space Cain. So that was the name of the book. But the cover was just like, the best way I could describe it was a really bad 3D rendering of water that was in a weird color sunset sort of thing that looked like something that would be the background of a Lisa Frank folder. Like, it just needed neon dolphins jumping out of it. And but that was a book about an Old West murder mystery in a mine. I have no idea why the guy chose that cover. I have no idea why he self-published this book. I have no idea why he decided he was going to send it to us in theater. But he did.
People send their fucking trash to troops. Like, that's, I mean, go ahead and tell your thing. But I mean, one time we got 20 medium-sized Josh Groban t-shirts for men. Like, just 20, all the same size, all for guys. Josh Groban, you lift me up. Just sent to us, just to our unit. And like a bunch of us like, put them on and just like, what the fuck do we do with this? I don't think any of them, like, I know I took mine home because it was a joke, but just somebody found, is like, I don't know, do they like Josh Groban? Fuck it, I don't want it here. Send it to the troops. I bet it's a write-off somewhere. I bet somewhere there's like a if you have a bunch of leftover shit and you donate it to some random dumbasses in Iraq, that you get to write off some kind of, I don't know, some tax thing somewhere. That's the only thing that I can think of.
I mean, we got easily 500 copies of one of Bill O'Reilly's books.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's like a thing that's negotiated with his publisher and the USO or some shit.
Yeah.
Because I felt like that story is pretty common across the board, that you would hear, people talk about like, oh yeah, well, I was in Waziristan and I got fucking, or not Waziristan, rather, because he'd be on the Pakistan border. I was in Nuristan or something, and I got Bill O'Reilly's book, and someone's like, oh, well, I was in Khost and I got another Bill O'Reilly book en masse, and someone's like, well, damn, I was in Herat and I was in Baghdad, I also got Bill O'Reilly books. Like, that's a constant. But some people, I don't know, what the fuck was going on. Somebody was sending us like, some of the more highly reviewed indie rock albums of the mid 2000s, the late 90s, early 2000s. Someone sent us a copy of Neutral Milk Hotels in the Aeroplane Over the Sea. I don't know if they thought that it was just going to be so beautiful and touching that it would make us put down our weapons. It's a good album, don't get me wrong, but it's a weird thing to send to troops with no contact. Somebody sent us a DVD of the documentary of the Chicago 10, and it's specifically a documentary about anti-Vietnam protesters and a trial, and it's a pretty anti-military documentary. It's also part animated for some reason, and I found it in like the free-to-take shelf near the chaplain's office, and someone, I guess, had seen it and watched it and then put it back because they hated it. And they had taken a Sharpie and written "faggot movie" on it, but they spelled it Faget. Like, I was just like,
I gotta say though, thank God for that First Amendment, because he could have just thrown it away, but he was like, nope, these people have freedom of speech, so I need to put it back. However, I'll put my own free speech on it.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Horribly.
I'm not particularly fond of that word at all, and I don't use that lightly. But that's legitimately what the person had written on it. And I mean, it sucked. It was a stupid documentary, but I mean, obviously, it was about the anti-war movement, and I watched it because I tried to keep an open mind the same way that when someone gave me this massively counterfeit, $1 DVD they'd bought from the bazaar that was just a combination of every movie they could find with Clive Owen in it. I wound up watching all of them, and Bent is a very strange movie, but hey, I watched it on a counterfeit DVD in Afghanistan. Mick Jagger plays a drag queen. It's a wild experience.
Yeah, watching a bunch of movies at 320p. Because instead of a mixtape, it's a mixed DVD, but it's all like Nicolas Cage movies and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could find yourself, you buy a DVD and you think you don't know what you're getting. It could be a video of, and I'm not joking, of just someone's footage of like camcorder footage from a party in Afghanistan in the 90s with like chicks dancing very, very modestly, but still that's incredibly horny for Afghanistan. Or it could be Frost versus Nixon. I mean, like legitimately, I had that happen. An unmarked DVD was, I'm not joking, like house party dance footage from an Afghan party. It's like 45 minutes of just people playing those accordions that they sit on the ground with. It's like an instrument in that region of the world. I don't know what it's called. And, women dancing. And then one was literally Frost Nixon. So you get what you get, man. But
it's $1, man. It's the roulette of Afghanistan and Iraq. You just never know what you're going to get when you pick those up. Especially like if you're like, oh, good, I really wanted to watch this movie, but it's like, is it going to be like an actual rip of a DVD? Is it going to be a handy cam inside of a movie theater where you have to like deal with Thai subtitles and everything?
Oh God, dude, you just reminded me of something.
Yeah, that's fucking. If you show somebody a badly pixelated hand cam with movie with Thai subtitles, you're gonna find at least one soldier getting flashbacks.
Dude, I found it was amazing. One of my NCOs would buy counterfeit DVD stuff from. I don't know how if he was getting them, if there was like a bazaar on Fob Sharana that he was going to, or if like the interpreters were buying them for him, or whatever, or if he had like a connection at one of the bigger bases where they sold stuff. Because I don't ever recall seeing the DVD vendors except maybe once at Fob Rushmore, but I know that people were getting them. But he bought a counterfeit box set, like a DVD set of Generation Kill, and it was amazing because this wasn't a local copy. Like this was something that had been bootlegged in China, I think. So the quality of the DVDs was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't like a camcorder in the theater or a camcorder next to a TV thing. It was pretty high quality, but yeah, like you said, it had hard-coded Chinese subtitles. But what was amazing about it was they had designed the box to look like an actual box, hard box DVD case set that you would buy in a store, but it was like super counterfeited. So it had a bunch of stock images that didn't match, like photos of people in woodland camouflage from like, Germany in the 80s, a lot of bad Photoshop of like helicopters on top of it. And then in the place where you would normally have critical commentary, like blurbs from reviews, they had just cut and paste people's Amazon reviews. So I was like, if you don't speak English, this is fucking brilliant. This looks amazing.
Oh, geez, what did Ponyboy 69 have to say about Frost Nixon?
Yeah,
I mean, really, that's what
yeah.
I'm basing everything on. That's what I'm basing my bootleg DVD purchases on.
Oh my God. I mean, oh man, I feel like such an old dude telling the story because I swear that every time I tell the story, I'm like, I think I've told the story before. And longtime listeners of the show would be like, yep, that's our dad telling the same story again because he's forgotten that he's told it. But I just remember, there's the whole plot device in the Hurt Locker with the little boy who sells counterfeit DVDs. And I legitimately watched that movie on a counterfeit DVD that someone had bought in the bazaar. And I was watching it in my first sergeant's office with like the training room guys and the first sergeant. And my first sergeant was extremely right-wing Puerto Rican guy. And he watched this movie and he was just getting madder and madder. And he was just like, sir, when this shit is all over, the people who will think they understand what Iraq was like, it will be movies like this made by liberals like you. It's just like, It's just like, you are as liberal as Obama himself. Like, oh, now I'd be mad for being called a lib, though.
Yeah, and in many ways, you probably have more things in common with him now. It's like, yeah, I fucking hate the libs too.
Fucking hate the libs too. The libs are constantly making my life a problem. Yeah, man. So I guess this has been a great big old dad ramble, but the point we make here, the overarching point, is there is this massive disconnect between what people perceive stuff is like versus what it's actually like. And obviously there are people who try to exploit that for catfishing. I think some of my strongest memories of catfishing are not the kinds where troops are, getting defrauded via the internet, for example. Because if you want to defraud troops, I mean, just go to a military town and marry a lonely soldier. I mean, like, come on, it's just not hard. But the thing that I thought was more obviously like just hilariously bad was a lot of the Afghan guys who worked in the Afghan government would get these emails that were, like Nigerian scams and other kinds of things, like you've won the lottery, etc. And you have to send me like a 400 euro deposit before I can send you the 500,000 euros you've won or whatever. And trying to explain to these guys, like, no, this is fake. The English is not correct. This is not real. I promise you, you have not won money, was such an uphill battle. Like, or similarly, same people having the argument where these guys who spoke English and had gone to grad school in Pakistan were trying to tell me that actually, no, the Jews all did stay home on 9/11. Like, it was maddening because you had this combination of people that were just tech savvy enough to have this access, but didn't, and were obviously in a privileged position because they worked for the government. They had computers and they had internet, but they didn't know English well enough, and they just weren't like savvy on the amounts of scams that were going on. And it is this kind of a glimpse of a much worse potential libertarian future in which this shit is even less regulated in America than it is now and around the world, and way, way, way more stuff out there is just overt. You're getting scammed. They're pulling reviews from Darth Blazer for 2069 on Amazon and saying this is professional commentary. They're cutting and pasting Harvard War College or whatever the fuck studies, from the army and saying this is the laws of war. Like, in the future, no one will do their homework.
I will say though that final one that final bullet point where it says that that troops will not be asking you to help them get money out of the country. Not necessarily true, because we've lost a lot of money in that country. Like, physical money has been lost. But also, I would say, though, if somebody is contacting you that they want to get a load of AK-47 parts out and need your help, that is probably legit, but you should also ignore it, because that is a crime. That is a very big crime. Do not help soldiers smuggle AK-47s out of Afghanistan.
When I was in Afghanistan, there was an E5 from the Guard who was a huge pain in the ass that I really hated dealing with. And he insisted on adopting a dog from Afghanistan, which, I mean, selfless thing to do because he loves this dog. It's also very frustrating to me because it's basically illegal you can't adopt Afghan children. You can't really do much in the way of supporting Afghan children with charities because they're the only ones that really you could donate money to are in Kabul. Like, there's just not a space for charities to operate in a lot of these places that are, international charities or anything along those lines, because it's just too dangerous. So the Afghan organizations, it's very hard to like get the money to people who need it. But this guy decided he wanted to adopt a dog, and it costs a lot of money to adopt a dog from Afghanistan because it has to basically go through Pakistan, get quarantined, get inoculated, get shipped over. And so his wife was mad at him because she's like, why are you spending $3,000 on adopting this stray dog you found? He's like, don't worry, babe, I've got something I can make the money up. He then got how to describe this? He then got a 15-6 where it was determined that he had tried to smuggle a bunch of cases of 50 cal ammo back in a container so he could sell them back in Georgia to pay for his dog.
Sure. I mean, he's literally there doing a job, but I guess he spent all of his money on bootleg DVDs of Frost Nixon. So instead of saving up some money, we gotta steal some 50 cal ammo. Like, there's so many things. Like, the thing is that and we should wrap up in a minute, but like all the smart officers when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan, the way they were making money is they were buying rugs. They're buying like Persian rugs that were probably like counterfeit or stolen from somewhere, shipping them home, and then selling them at a markup. And that's perfectly legal. Nothing they did was wrong or incorrect. But like one of the majors that I talked to is like, man, I've made thousands of dollars while I'm here. He's like, he keeps picking up deployments because he's like, one, I make major pay without taxes, and two, he's like, I buy these rugs off of the local economy, I ship them home, and then my wife sells them. We're making money hand over fist. I was like, that's what you do. The problem is though, is that your normal E3 schlub doesn't have a rug guy at home. It's like, I ship the rugs back to my wife, and then what is Cinnamon, who you married down at the snake hole, really gonna fucking do with a rug, man? Nobody knows.
Also, I mean, to be honest with you, with privates, when you think about how much money, like those rugs in Afghanistan, you still have to spend $300, $400, $500 on a rug.
Oh yeah.
You still have to spend, $20 to buy a plastic tough box, and probably $60, $70 at the base post office, if you have a base post office, if you're in a base that has that shit, to mail it home. Like, believe it or not, that's a money investment that a lot of privates aren't going to have the ability to make, and B, I mean, how much free time, how much fucking unsupervised time do you think privates have to go and do some kind of weird rug scheme?
Yeah.
Like, they just don't. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that the people who are on the international rug smuggling trade are all officers. I didn't buy any rugs in Afghanistan. I didn't buy. I bought my mom a lapis lazuli box, like a little stone box, and I bought some green tea, I guess. I don't know. I bought a pressure cooker.
I had a huge DVD collection, which is now all gone because I live in America now, and I can get movies at good quality prices. And well, not. I mean, you can get good quality movies. It's not Drake's Fortune on a 320p or whatever. So yeah, a lot of slowly getting rid of those memories. Nate, what are we doing for our bonus this week?
So you and Brock actually had a long conversation about Josh Hawley, the nationalist and kind of socialist senator who's a Republican from Missouri. Nationalism and socialism. I've never heard of that being bad before.
Two great tastes together at last. Yeah, Josh Hawley has been doing a lot of things that sound really great. However, Josh Hawley is still a huge evangelical prick. And Brock is from Kansas City, and I'm from St. Louis, so we're on each side of the state. I'm a little bit more country, and he is a little bit more rock and roll. But yeah, we spend a good time talking about Josh Hawley because he's an up and comer. So keep your eye on this rising star because it's like a rising star, but that eventually you find out is actually a thermonuclear bomb that wipes just completely cleanses an area of all life. That's Josh Hawley. So enjoy this. Hawley, I feel like he's kind of this new weird generation of politicians that are kind of coming to the front underneath Donald Trump, because I keep seeing
put him
people
in the same category with like a Matt Gaetz. Like he's I sometimes confuse the two of them, but they seem very similar in this way.
Well, Josh, I don't know about Matt Gaetz, but Josh Hawley, like any picture you see of him, he looks like he looks like Joel Osteen. Like the televangelist. Oh
God, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. And now his
face is a little slopey, a little melty on one side. You describe him as a haircut, but he also has a bad haircut. Yeah, there's a lot happening.
I wouldn't say he has a 5 head, but he's at least got a 4.5 head. He's got a lot of teeth going on, and every time it's that smile of like, I want to smile, but my face doesn't have room for a smile. Like that's Josh Hawley. Anyway, I don't.
A big wet brain boy.
We're going to get canceled for making fun of Josh Hawley's face. Anyway, Josh Hawley, though, is he is so his recent thing, the two things that I see a lot of like people, not necessarily on the left, but like liberals, and gets a lot of talking about are two different things that Hawley has done as a senator. One of them is in March, after doing a lot of investigation, is pushing towards like a bad landlords database, right? And the bad landlords database is based on landlords who are receiving, I can't remember, it's basically Section 8 funding and allowing Section 8 housing in their properties, not maintaining the properties. So they're not, keeping up these properties. And one of the places that Howley came to is literally a apartment complex that is a mile and a half from me, down on Germania and 55. So it's very close, Southwest Crossing, I believe. He went to Southwest Crossing, and people invited him into their apartments and like, look, the whole place is falling down. There's mold here. Then they found out that they hadn't been taking out the trash. Like they haven't been paying trash bills to have the trash hauled away. There's all kinds of things that these people were defunct on. So Howley is pushing for, okay, we need to do something about this, and he wants to have a database so that if you're found in violation of these things, you will no longer receive. It's like a 2 years. For 2 years you can't receive any government's like federal the federal money to do Section 8 housing. The other thing is more recently with COVID-19 outbreak is he wants to start, he basically wants the government, the federal government, to give money, like basically 80%, pay 80% of payroll for companies. So the government would basically just give money to these companies specifically to fill payroll and pay their employees at least 80% of what they were making. And the idea is that this is going to help float. This is not only going to help keep the working class, up and running, but this is also going to be able to help these companies stay afloat. Which, like, the thing is, Brock, about all of this, is that they're all very good on the surface, but the thing is that they're coming from a Trump brown-nosing Republican. They're coming from somebody who is massively against immigration, who is a senator in a state that vehemently pushes against right for work. We are a union state, and that is like one of the few like left things that Missouri has. But Howley is not for, or Howley is all about right for work. So he's all about not only doing away like with unions at all, union requirements. But he's also for if you do join a place and they're like, we have a union, usually you have to pay union dues. He wants to make those optional. He doesn't stand for the worker. He's against raising the minimum wage because he's like, oh, that'll hurt businesses. Like, bitch, we haven't raised the minimum wage in 10 years. Like, all these places are making money except for the people who actually work there. And these are all like very easy arguments to like, as soon as you see any of these, I mean, hell, even the giving money to, the 80% money given to these businesses to put down through payroll, the fuck does that do for your gig workers? The fuck does that do for your people who are already unemployed? My wife's a travel agent, man. Like, do you think that she's making any money right now? Like, these are all just these little things where you're just like, on the surface, you're like, okay, yeah, I can kind of see that. But then, if you spend 5 to 10 minutes thinking about it, you're like, you're really not doing anything for your labor pool here in Missouri. Like, but Missourians and really like, workers in general are so used to being beaten down and getting crumbs that when somebody's like, here, I have another handful of crumbs for you. Everybody just goes scrambling for it. And like, oh God, thank you for giving us now I have 3 crumbs. It's
so strange how the paying the businesses instead of the people hit a completely unforeseeable snag in how it would get to the people. No one could have predicted that this would not go well. And Greitens is, I suppose, the reason that we are, Hawley is, I suppose this is the reason that we're having the episode. The sort of crumbs that he's doing and this sort of weird appearance of just doing the bare minimum of being a human has caused people to really say like, wow, he is a hero of the working man, and it's been online, and it's in the same like week as people are like, who else was a hero? George Bush. Like, what happened to? I came to left Twitter for guillotines, and all of a sudden it's like, what if we just we'll give everyone some stickers for just doing the bare minimum, and it's hard to watch some days.
Yeah, at least like the left has been telling George Bush to continuing to tell them to fuck off. I'm sure you're not going to find very many people that listen to this podcast who would say, that George Bush, he wasn't that bad. We all just have like Stockholm
At least
syndrome
he could
or something.
speak, kind of.
Right.
But it's just like he couldn't speak. That was what we made fun of him for. Nuclear. Like it is so incredible how quickly we do revisionist history at this point. Like, and it's true because we have a president that says something in a press conference on camera, and then the next day claims he never said it. And we've just sort of trained ourselves to do this. So yeah, looking back 20 years is nothing for us now. We never went to Iraq. And in fact, in a piece that you and I read just before hopping on the recording today, written by Josh Hawley in the New York Times, he blames the left for going to foreign wars. And I think both of us just had a conniption fit right before recording. Like, how do you respond to that?
Well, and here's the thing. Here's where I'm starting to pivot as kind of a Josh Hawley and the Republican Party under Trump is a different party than what the Republicans under, say, let's go as far back as Reagan. Reagan an asshole. This is not, hey, Reagan, he was all right. No, we're not doing that. I'm just saying that the party under Reagan and the party under Trump have two very distinct motivations. Because, again, the World Trade Organization was fathered by Ronald Reagan, that Josh Hawley is right now, tearing down. And he never really mentions this. What he doesn't say the damn Republicans. He doesn't say, what he calls them are internationalists. Now, what's the opposite of
it was an incredible word. I love it so much.
Brock, what's the opposite of an internationalist? Can you tell me? If somebody's
homist
or a nationalist is what I would go for. And here's the thing, like, also when Hawley was pushing his payroll payment thing, a lot of Republicans were like, what are these socialist things that he's doing? And then I was just like, oh, he's a nationalist and kind of a social. Oh, fuck. Now,
yeah, it was weird how quickly they pivoted to socialist for a guy that is probably one of the top 5 people responsible for Trump getting away with his crimes, and Trump loves him for it. So it's just because he wants to give people a little bit more money, he's not a socialist. That's really not what it is.
I honestly feel like a lot of it is that Hawley knows that he needs to maintain his place as a senator, so might as well do some like popular things. Because again, Claire McCaskill didn't do shit. Like I couldn't tell you.
You brought up that she was a Missouri liberal, and it is worth noting that there was something about Claire McCaskill when we had a Democratic governor. She managed to maintain that position for years because she really leaned right in everything that she said, and then she leaned left in the things that she was voting on. So, for example, she was protecting Planned Parenthood here for years and years by constantly like talking to right-wing people and being like, yeah, we've really got to limit what they're doing. And then she would just quietly vote for the other thing. So it was the only way to really make a liberal that isn't Jason Kander work for Missouri. And yeah, at some point that catches up with you. And in fact, the day before the election, we had a McCaskill sign in our front yard because it was like, obviously, if Hawley wins, it's the end of the world for us. And the day before the election, she went on Fox News and talked about how crazy left-wing people like AOC are. And like, I went right out into the yard and like took the sign down, and I was like, this is my first time voting where I'm really holding my nose on who I'm voting for. But this is just come on.
If you have any stories of weird shit that was sent to you while you were on a deployment, or anything that you may have heard, whether you were, in Germany or in a small little base out in the middle of bumfuck Afghanistan, I am interested. I want to know what people sent to you. So please send those along. And as you know, you can always contact us, me at Army Strang on Twitter, Nate at In These Deserts, and Sergeant Joker at hellofawaytodie.com, whichever way that you feel most confident and of getting in contact with us, because we want to hear what y'all want. We want to expand this. We want to do more. Tell us what you want, or at least give us people to interview so we can do more bonus episodes.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks again for listening this week. And Francis, we will talk to you next week.
Zoom, zoom.